So this presentation is basically on how one business project and one invention that I had, it allowed me to find and collaborate with creators all over the world. And starting off, this is our big world, and then we start to zoom in. And we start in North America, which is everybody's home, or actually just my home because people are from all over the world. And this is where I began to redefine learning. And over the summer, through this project challenge that initially started from the Guard Innovation Challenge, but I continued over the summer, I realized that doing is also a form of learning. So it's not just school where you're always reading textbooks and you're just doing research. You can also learn by experiencing and doing. So we start with Michigan, which is where I'm born. And a little bit about me, I love ideas. I'm always thinking of new things and just random thoughts, and I like to jot them down. I'm also a student athlete, so I play a lot of tennis, and then I also study, and I cannot stand being bored. So, coming from my hometown, which is Michigan, I started my first business idea, which was a tennis camp, because I play a lot of tennis and I wanted to give to my community. So I initially did this tennis camp, and as I got more business ideas, I wanted to work on it and find new people to collaborate with. So for the guard challenge and for my project over the summer, I worked on this thing that I call the YPocket. And the YPocket looks like this, and you will be looking at it, you'll think, what is that? And this is a little blurb from a form that I had my friends read about, and it essentially explains it. It's a pocket for your phone, which you'll be confused initially because why would you need a pocket for your phone? See, I lose everything, so I wanted to create this sort of pouch or wallet that you can attach to your phone instead of always carrying around a handbag. And some of the guys have said, oh, but I put everything in my pocket. Well, girls, our clothes hardly ever have good pockets. So I wanted something that's convenient and anybody can use. And essentially, this is my idea of the visual, and you can just stick it onto your pocket and stick it onto your phone case. So then I was faced with the idea of, or the question of, how do you learn an invention? Because before at school, I would always know, oh, if I'm supposed to learn something, I go to a teacher or I look it up online. But in this case, an invention was all in my head. So nobody really knew anything about it except myself. So I decided to reach out to other students I knew. I initially started again in North America and across the nation. I reached out to friends and other students. I started with some Caltech students. My best friend goes to Caltech. I reached out to her. She asked some of her friends, and I was introduced to 3D modeling, which I learned that that is how you create a product and you can bring an idea and turn it into reality. So they started helping me with 3D modeling. And it was the first time I worked with people in California. So already that was a big step for me. I was going across states. And then after some revisions, I wanted to work with different people. So I found this Georgia Tech software engineer student, and she helped me continue working on this prototype. And also, I began to research these steps to business because I had no idea how to learn a business. I knew how to learn science, I knew how to learn history, but business was a concept that I never had taken a class in, and I didn't know how to break it down. So I even talked to a product development company in Massachusetts, and they explained to me the different steps when turning a product or something that you have in your head into something you can sell and make a business out of. And across the US, I reached out and talked to manufacturing and prototyping companies. And then going back to Michigan, I used the Michigan State Makerspace to print initial models, and there was this mentorship program I enrolled with where they find mentors within your region, which for me was Michigan, and they connect you with them so that they can help you with any business problems you're going through. So this idea, this little invention that I had, really allowed me to connect with people from across the nation, which I found to be extremely interesting because I didn't know them in the beginning, but through this common idea or common goal, we could connect. And I also began to redefine learning better because as I was 3D modeling and learning about this new concept I had never known before, I realized that 3D modeling at its core was math, it was engineering, it was physics, and it was art, it was design, and plus communication, which I will elaborate. And it was inspiring for me to realize that, oh, I can just be playing around with shapes and doing this new app, such as Fusion and SolidWorks, where you create these new models. But the basis of all of that was these math concepts I had learned at school. And it was this physics and design that I had always learned in books. So it was cool applying and experiencing my learning in a different way. Again, I wanted to elaborate on communication. And brilliance must be communicated. That's what I heard in my chemistry class before. I really learned that on a deeper level through my experience with prompting, explaining a new concept, the difference between image and sound and text, and also when communicating the importance of serving both parties, not just always thinking about what you need, but being able to have this mutual relationship. And the core of business or the core of communicating idea, I realized was, oh, you have to be able to put something that's just in your head and be able to say it in a way that other people, or even I use ChatGPT to explain stuff and figure things out. Even with ChatGPT or AI models, you need to be able to communicate in a way that can be understood by the receiving party. And then I started to branch out in both direct and indirect ways. And this is when my idea in this project really became global for me. The first was in Korea, which I visited in May. And so I went there in person. And I went to go see family and do some work. But I realized that looking at all these shops and these businesses, there's so many different ideas that I had never seen before in America. So I was able to visually see and touch and feel these different types of products and look at small shops and large, big businesses at the same time. I also went shopping a lot, which it had some benefits outside of just getting new items because I was able to see different markets and different ways of branding, and also how you can brand an object, but the product quality is just as important. So if the product is not good, even if you put on this fancy display, it's not going to last for a while. Now, China, the rest of the countries I didn't go directly, other than Korea, but China really helped me explore trends and also the other steps of business, which involve packaging and getting supplies that wrap around this product. I wanted to figure out a packaging design or a cover or type of branding for my new idea and product. So I went on this pretty well-known site called Alibaba. I had no idea what it was initially. And I realized there are all of these different Chinese vendors that are able to mass produce and personalize packaging or honestly any subject area and ship it to you. My friends were very talkative about this new trend that originated in China called the Labubu trend. So I looked at how different products they can rise and fall and how they're trending and how products such as Labubu get people to buy their items even if it's not the hype initially. So I wanted to use some of their strategies in my product and their marketing campaigns. And then the other regions that I looked at were just case studies. So I put their origins as their locations, but you might have obviously heard of Dior. I didn't look at Dior for their products because I don't sell the same things as Dior, but I liked how their website design was. And I realized that I don't need to learn everything about everything. Instead, I can learn different parts of different things and make my own definition of learning. So with Dior, I didn't resonate with them on everything that they did, but in terms of website design and making their videos and making their images, I found inspiration in those little parts. And then Fern was an interesting case study that I explored where they only have a limited supply of perfumes and they only sell once per season. So they always have this waiting list. I realized that you don't always need to have everything of this product. So for in my case, I don't need to have millions and millions of this YPocket. I can have a limited supply, maybe because I can't afford to have a lot and still, I can create a business out of it and make it work depending on the strategy that I use. And finally, I chose YouTube to wrap it up and show how I really went global because YouTube helped me so much as someone who had never learned anything about business or even product design or product marketing. I love that I can just search up something on YouTube and somebody is speaking to me from anywhere in the world and they will explain me the concept as if I was sitting right in front of them. And that is essentially how the YPocket led me to find and collaborate with creators globally. So in all, I learned that learning is very complicated, but it's intricate. So to understand these different parts in making this business journey, I researched businesses globally and I also talked to people from around the world. And so to summarize, technology and innovation connected me to people and brands across the world. Thank you.